Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Praise the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and King. How are you today? I hope you're well. I hope that you've had a nice day and that the Lord is still the King of your heart, that you're still in love with the Messiah because he always is in love with us. So today is the 16th of July 2021, but it is the evening of the 16th of July 2021. I've just remembered something. On an evening such as this, back in the year 2000, I went to church. It was my last Sunday service in Kenya before flying out of Kenya for the first time in my life. And it was an amazing time because I had been fasting and praying, obviously. I was fasting as a Thanksgiving fast and to God for having given me the visa, the miracle of a visa. And I went to my grandmother's to say goodbye to her and to say goodbye to my aunties and uncles who had been standing with me in prayer. And on an evening such as this is 8 o'clock Kenyan time, I was in Nairobi trying to work out a few things on how to get to the airport and all that stuff because my flight was very early in the morning. I never used to live in Nairobi city, so I had come from like almost 400 kilometers away, which is where we used to live. I had worked in the suburbs of Nairobi previously, about 3 years before that, and then gone back to my old city of Eldoret. Eldoret is famous for long distance running. So if you want to know where all the rich Kenyan long distance runners live, if they're not in Nairobi, then they live in Eldoret. Majority of them do anyway. So today being the 17th or Shabbat, because it's already Shabbat now, using Israeli time, and even actually using English time because it's past 6 o'clock. Being the weekend has started, being that the weekend has already started, Saturday or Shabbat has started, we are reading a parasha, and the parasha this time is from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1. So Deuteronomy is called Devarim, meaning words, and therefore we are going to read Deuteronomy chapter 1 to... Today I will not expound anything. It's just 2 pages that I'll be reading of the parasha today. I will not read the additional parasha, which in this Bible there is additional reading in the New Testament because it is written by David H. Stern, who is a Messianic believer who I met in Jerusalem. I was introduced to him by his wife. I hope he's still alive. He looked stunning when I saw him at the Feast of Tabernacles run by International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem. And his wife, Miriam, was very gracious she offered for me to go and meet her husband, which was such an honor. So I was just saying that there will be additional parasha readings for this one because actually we have the Haftarah, which is from Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1 to 27. And then the Brit Hadashah. The Brit Hadashah is the new. Brit is like the covenant. Hadashah new. And it is the suggested reading for Parashat Devarim. And they are going to be reading from the book of Yohanan, John chapter 15, verse 1 to 11. And the Messianic Jews, Hebrews, the book, chapter 3, verse 7 to chapter 4, verse 11. So it's quite a chunk of reading. I've already read my Hebrews today. I read from Hebrews chapter 11, and then I read Romans chapter 3 of, chapter 3, I think. So I think I've done my Bible study today. And I also read from 2 Kings chapter 3, where Elisha gave the soldiers of Israel water from heaven. He just called for water from heaven when they didn't have water in the wilderness. So Parashat Devarim, which means words. These are the words Moshe spoke to all Israel on the far side of the Yarden river in the desert. Yarden is Jordan. So these are the words Moshe spoke to all Israel on the far side of the Yarden River in the desert, in the Arava across from Suf, between Paran and Tophel Lavan. Lavan means white. Hatzerot and Dizahav. Zahav, for those who speak Swahili, you know that is gold, like Zahabu we say in Swahili. It is 11 days journey from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by way of Mount Seir. On the first day of the 11th month of the 40th year, Moshe spoke to the people of Israel, reviewing everything Adonai had ordered him to tell them. This was after he had defeated Sihon, king of the Amori, who lived in Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth at Edrei. There, beyond the Yarden, in the land of Moab, Moshe took it upon himself to expound this Torah and said, Adonai spoke to us in Horeb. He said, Horeb is what normally people call Mount of Sinai or Horeb. He said, You have lived long enough by this mountain. Turn, get moving, and go to the hill country of the Amori and all the places near there in the Arava, the hill country, the Shphelah, the Negev, and by the seashore, the land of the Kenani and the Lebanon, as far as the great river, the Euphrates River. I've set the land before you. Go in and take possession of the land Adonai swore to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, and their descendants after them. At that time, I told you, You are too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. Adonai your God has multiplied your numbers so that there are as many of you today as there are stars in the sky. May Adonai, the God of your ancestors, increase you yet 1,000-fold and bless you as he has promised you. But you are burdensome, bothersome, and quarrelsome. How can I bear it by myself alone? Pick for yourselves from each of your tribes men who are wise, understanding, and knowledgeable, and I'll make them heads over you. You answered me, What you have said would be a good thing for us to do. So I took the heads of your tribes, men wise and knowledgeable, and made them heads over you. They became leaders in charge of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and officers tribe by tribe. At that time, I commissioned your judges. Hear the cases that arise between your brothers and judge fairly between a man and his brother and the foreigner who is with him. You are not to show favoritism when judging, but give equal attention to the small and to the great. No matter how a person presents himself, no matter how a person presents himself, don't be afraid of him because the decision is God's. The case that is too hard for you, bring to me and I'll hear it. I also gave you orders at that time concerning all the things that you were to do. So we left Horeb and went through all that vast and fearsome desert which you saw on the way to the hill country of the Amori, as Adonai our God ordered us, and we arrived at Kadesh Barnea. There I say to you, you have come to the hill country of the Amori, which Adonai our God is giving to us. Look, Adonai your God has placed the land before you. Go up Take possession as Adonai, the God of your ancestors, has told you. Don't be afraid. Do not be dismayed. You approached me, every one of you, and said, let's send men ahead of us to explore the country for us and bring back word concerning what route we should use in going up and what the cities we will encounter are like. The idea seemed good to me, so I took 12 of your men, one from each tribe, and they set out, went up into the hills, came to the Eshcol Valley, and reconnoitered it. They took some of the produce of the land and brought it down to us. They also brought back word to us. The land Adonai our God is giving to us is good. But you would not go up. Instead, you rebelled against the order of Adonai your God, and in your tents you complained. It's because Adonai hated us that he has brought us out of the land of Egypt only to hand us over to the Amori to destroy us. What sort of place is it that we are heading for? Our brothers made our courage fail when they said the people are bigger and taller than we are. The cities are great and fortified up to the sky. And finally, we have seen Anakim there. I answered you, don't be fearful. Don't be afraid of them. Adonai, your God, is going ahead of you. He will fight on your behalf, just as he has accomplished all those things for you all in Egypt before your eyes. And likewise in the desert, where you saw how Adonai your God carried you like a man carries his child along the entire way you traveled until you arrived at this place. Yet in this matter, you don't trust Adonai your God, even though he went ahead of you, seeking out places for you to pitch your tents and showing you which way to go by fire at night and by cloud during the day. Adonai heard what you were saying, became angry, and swore, not a single one of those people, this whole evil generation, will see the good land I swore to give to your ancestors, except Caleb, the son of Yephuneh, he will see it. I will give him and his descendants the land he walked on, because he has fully followed Adonai. Also, because of you, Adonai was angry with me and said, you two will not go in there. Yehoshua, the son of Nun, your assistant, he will go in there. So encourage him, because he will enable Israel to take possession of it. Moreover, your little ones, who you said would be taken as booty, and your children who don't yet know good from bad, they will go in there. I'll give it to them, and they'll have possession of it. But as for yourselves, turn around and head into the desert by the road of the sea of Suf. Then you answered me, we've sinned against Adonai. Now we will go up and fight in accordance with everything Adonai our God ordered us. And every man among you put on his arms, considering it an easy matter to go up into the hill country. But Adonai said to me, tell them, do not go up. Don't go up to fight, because I'm not there with you. If you do, your enemies will defeat you. So I told you, but you wouldn't listen. Instead, you rebelled against Adonai's order, took matters into your own hands, and went up into the hill country, where the Amori living in that hill country came out against you like bees. They defeated you in Seir and chased you back all the way to Homa. You returned and cried before Adonai, but Adonai neither listened to what you said nor paid you any attention. This is why you had to stay in Kadesh as long as you did. It's like, sit it out, people. Sit out your disobedience, God said. Oh, Lord. Then we turned and began traveling into the desert along the road of the Sea of Suf, as Adonai had said to me, and we scattered Mount Seir for a long time. Finally, Adonai said to me, you've been going around this mountain long enough. Head north and give this order to the people. You are to pass through the territory of your kinsmen, the descendants of Esav, who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you, so be very cautious and don't get into disputes with them. For I am not going to give you any of their land. No, not even enough for 1 foot to stand on. There were millions of them, you know. Inasmuch as I've given Mount Seir to Esav as his possession, I will not give you anything. So pay them money for the food you eat and pay them money for the water you drink. For Adonai your God has blessed you in everything your hands have produced. He knows that you have been traveling through this vast desert these 40 years. Adonai your God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing. What a blessed people. So we went on past our kinsmen, the descendants of Esau living in Seir, left the road through the Arava from Elat and Etzion Geber, and turned to pass along the road through the desert of Moab. Adonai said to me, don't be hostile towards Moab or fight with them, because I will not give you any of their land to possess, since I have already given Ar to the descendants of Lot as their territory. The Emim used to live there, a great and numerous people as tall as the Anakim. They are also considered Rephaim, as are the Anakim, but the Moavim call them Meminim. In Seir, the Horim used to live, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed and destroyed them, settling in their place. Israel did similarly in the land it came to possess, which Adonai gave to them. Now get going and cross Wadi Zered. Wadi is like they use in Arabic, Wadi, whatever, Wadi Zered, for instance. So we crossed Wadi Zered, and the time between our leaving Kadesh Bani and our crossing Wadi Zered was 38 years. What? Wow. Wow. Oh my God. This reminds me of the man who was sick for 38 years, by the pool somewhere in Jerusalem, waiting for the angel to come and stir up the water. I mean, since the day that guy was born, or he had been sitting by that pool, we don't know whether he started sitting there when he was a young man or not. But for goodness sake, 38 years is a very, very long time. It's just short of an entire generation. Anyway, I'll repeat again, chapter 2, verse 16. So we crossed Wadi Zered, the time between, chapter 14. So we crossed Wadi Zered, then the time between our leaving Kadesh Bani and our crossing Wadi Zered was 38 years, until the whole generation of men capable of bearing arms had been eliminated from the camp, as Adonai had sworn they would be. So those are the rebellious ones. Moreover, Adonai's hand was against them to root them out of the camp until the last of them was gone. Can you imagine everybody's dad died. At some point in Israel, there was a generation who didn't have fathers. It's very sad. Moreover, Adonai's hand was against them to root them out of the camp until the last of them was gone. When all the men who were able to bear arms had died and were no longer part of the people, Adonai said to me, today you are to cross the border of Moab at Ar. Then, when you approach the descendants of Ammon, don't bother them or fight with them, for I will not give you any of the territory of the people of Ammon to possess, since I've given it to the descendants of Lot as their territory. So Lot is the guy whose daughters raped him when he was drunk. This too is considered a land of the Rephaim, whom the Amori called Zamzumim. They used to live there. They were a large, numerous people, as tall as the Anakim, but Adonai destroyed them as the people of Ammon advanced and settled in their place, just as he destroyed the Horim as descendants of Esau advanced into Seir and settled in their place, where they live to this day. It was the same with the Avim, who lived in villages as far away as Azar. The Kaftorim, coming from Kaftor, destroyed them and settled in their place. Get up, verse 24 of chapter 2. Get up, get moving, and cross the Arnon Valley. Here I have put in your hands Sihon the Amori, king of Heshbon, and his land. Commence the conquest, begin the battle. Today I will start putting the fear and dread of you into all the peoples under heaven, so that the mere mention of your name will make them quake and tremble before you. How about that? That's a nice way to be introduced to the world. I sent envoys from the Kedemor from the Kedemoth desert to Sihon, king of Heshbon, with a peaceable message. Let me pass through your land. I'll keep to the road, turning neither right nor left. You will sell me food to eat for money and give me water to drink for money. I only want to pass through. Do as the people of Esav living in Seir and the Moabim living in Ar did with me until I crossed the Jordan into the land Adonai our God is giving us. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through his territory, because Adonai your God had hardened his spirit and made him stubborn so that he could hand him over to you, as is the case today. Adonai said to me, see, I have begun handing over Sihon and his territory before you. Start taking possession of his land. That is a word for somebody. Wow. Then Sihon came out against us, he and all his people, to fight at Yahath. And Adonai our God had handed him over to us so that we defeated him and his sons and all his people. At that time, we captured all his cities and completely destroyed every city, men, women, little ones. We left none of them. As booty for ourselves, we took only the cattle along with the spoil from the cities we had captured. From Aroer on the edge of the Arnon Valley, and from the city in the valley all the way to Gilad, there was not one city too well fortified for us to capture. Adonai our God gave us all of them to us. The only land you didn't approach was that of the descendants of Ammon, the region around the Yabuk River, and the cities in the hills, and wherever else Adonai our God forbade us to go. So these people, the Lord clearly divided the land for them to take and the land to conquer. So land grabbers, for instance, land grabbers in Kenya are numerous, but land grabbers would never have worked with God in this region because they would have all been killed by God for thirst of things that are not even theirs. Then we turned, chapter 3, then we turned and went up the road to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us with all his people to fight at Edrei. Adonai said to me, don't be afraid of him, for I have handed him all his people and all his territory over to you. You will do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amori, who lived at Heshbon. So Adonai our God also handed over to us Og, the king of Bashan, with all his people, and we defeated him until he had no one left. At that time, we captured all his cities. There was not one city of theirs that we did not capture. There were 60 cities, all the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan, all of them fortified cities with high walls, gates, and bars, in addition to a great number of unwalled towns. We completely destroyed them as we did with Sihon, king of Heshbon, annihilating every city, men, women, and little ones. But we took all the livestock along with the spoil from the cities as booty for ourselves. At that time, we captured the territory of the two kings of the Amori east of the Jordan between the Arnon Valley and Mount Hermon. That is north of Israel. The Hermon, which the Sidonim is Sidon, Sidon, Sidon in English. So the Sidonim called Sirion and the Amori called Senir. All the cities of the plain, all Gilad, and all Bashan as far as Shaka and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. Og, king of Bashan, was the last survivor of the Rephaim. Wow! Rephaim. His bed was made of iron. It is still in Rabbah with the people of Ammon. It was 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, using the normal cubit, 13 and a half by 6 feet. This guy was wide and tall. So can you imagine? He was 6 feet wide and 13 and a half long. What sort of a human being is this? Anyway, they were the Rephaim, so yeah, you can expect that. So of this land that we took possession of then, I assigned to the Reuveni and the Gadi the territory extending from Aroer along the Ammon Valley, together with half the hill country of Gilead, including its cities. The rest of Gilead and all Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to the half-tribe of Manasseh. The whole region of Argob, together with all of Bashan, form what is called the land of Rephaim. And Yair, the son of Menashe, took all the region of Argob as far as the border of the Geshuri and the Ma'achati. He named this whole area, including Bashan, after himself. It remains Havoth Yair to this day. I gave Gilad to Mahir, and to the Reubeni and the Gadi I gave the territory from Giladi to the Ammon Valley, with the middle of the valley as the border, as far as the Yabok River, which is the border with the people of Ammon. The Arava to the Yarden being its border from Kinneret to the sea of the Arava, the Dead Sea, at the foot of the slopes of Pisgah to the east. At that time I gave you this order: Adonai your God has given you this land to possess, but all of you who are fit to fight must cross over armed ahead of your brothers, the people of Israel, your wives, your little ones, and your livestock. I know you have much livestock, but it will stay in your cities which I have given you until Adonai allows your brothers to rest as he has allowed you, and they too take possession of the land Adonai your God is giving them on the west side of the Yarden. At that point, you will return each man to his own possession, which I've given you. So he's speaking to the Reubenites, the Gadites, as you call them, and the half tribe of Manasseh. He's telling them, before everybody else is settled, you cannot stay on the eastern side of the Jordan River. You'll have to cross to the western side of the Jordan River so that the other tribes can inherit their land. I had someone saying some time back, all these researchers and doctors of theology saying it took them about 7 years for everybody to get settled down. So each man to his own possession, which I've given you. Also at that time, I gave this order to Yeshua: your eyes have seen everything that Adonai, your God, has done to these two kings. Adonai will do the same to all the kingdoms that you encounter when you cross over. Don't be afraid of them, because Adonai, your God, will fight on your behalf. That's all we need to read today. I won't read from Isaiah chapter 1 or from the Hebrews chapter 1, chapter 3, or from John chapter 15. May the Lord bless his word. This is an interesting one, because it's the words that Moses had spoken from when they left Egypt, all along for 38 years. Now this is the 40th year, and they're still going round and round in circles until it's time for Joshua to then take over and lead them into the promised land proper. So both sides of the Yarden River, east and west, are occupied by the Israeli people, or should be occupied by the Israeli people. There shouldn't be any distinction between the east or the western side of the river, because they are all Jews. So Reuben is the firstborn, and he's there with two of the younger ones, Gad and the son of half of the tribe of Manasseh. Manasseh was the son of Joseph, the prince. So I pray that as you go ahead and inherit your own land that the Lord spoke to you about, that you will be brave and courageous. Do not also be afraid of the giants of the land, because God is going to slay them before you. In fact, he's going to cause a fear to run across their hearts. Even before you arrive, they will know you're coming and that you're terrible, because the God with whom you move is a terrible God. Shabbat Shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and give you peace. May he be gracious to you all the days of your life. And you and I, shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Shalom.